Okay, let's begin, because as the culture wars rage on against members of the LGBTQ plus community, cities across the country held their annual Pride parades this weekend. People danced on parade floats from New York to Chicago, all the way to San Francisco, and even right here in Denver. Protesters were also on hand, some using bullhorns to speak out against trans people. Lots of these protesters have been emboldened by all the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation passed in states across the country. Meantime, more than 3,500 Starbucks workers across the country staged a walkout, closing down 150 stores. Workers were protesting against the company for allegedly removing Pride Month decorations from stores. Starbucks has denied the allegations. Okay, so what do we think of these, Erica, these Pride parades taking place this year, set against the backdrop of all the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation being pushed?
Well, Pride celebration is a part of the resistance. It's the audacity to be oneself in public and actually advocate on behalf of yourself and your fellow community. I don't think that, although the backlash is more overt, where it has been a little bit more covert in the past, especially in recent years, people feel very emboldened to speak out against people in the LGBTQIA plus community, but this isn't new. And so I think the resilience of the community is demonstrated not only through Pride celebrations, but every day.
Al, what would you say as a parent to three? Because a lot of the pushback that I've seen online is you should not bring your children to a Pride parade. What would you say to that? And I'm speaking more from the right saying that.
Well, whoever's saying it, I would say you should not tell me what to do with my children. Unless you're going to tell me that you're also going to provide health care for them and all these kinds of things, then we're allowing parents to raise their own children. Up until a certain age, you don't take your kids to see certain movies. You don't. I wouldn't take my kids that are 15, 16, and 8 to a professional football game right now. That doesn't mean I don't think that they should occur. That just means that I don't think that my kids should be exposed to that yet. There's a lot of different things that our kids are being exposed to, whether we know it or not. I don't think my kids would bat an eye if I took them to a Pride event. I would be,
they're a little bit older, though.
They're a little bit older. I think they would be fine. The youngest one, I just wouldn't take him yet. But I think it's up to a parent's discretion. I think we also have to be mindful of when we start seeing LGBTQ plus and then the pairing of Save the Children. That was the same narrative that we dealt with in the 80s with they're going to be waiting for your kids in the bathroom, pedophile, analogies. And this is just kind of the 2.0 reboot. Everything gets a refresh, including homophobia. I'm not saying that if you don't want to take your kids to a Pride event, you're homophobic, but we have to watch that narrative has been done before, and we're just kind of seeing a new updated version of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's tough to talk about things like this, right? Because if you're on the other side of it or question in any sort of way, you're labeled. Right. You're against the LGBTQ plus community. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm with you. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. Like, when my wife was breastfeeding, the most annoying thing was like, you better put them on breast milk. Well, she has postpartum and you don't know what you're talking about, and we need to have a bottle feed, okay? So, like, just keep your opinions to yourself. Yeah. My kids are different than you, so I have a different point of opinion.
Because your kids are younger.
They're 6.
A situation unique to you, Jeff.
Exactly. Yes. And it doesn't mean I'm against any community or any way of parenting. It means for me, it doesn't work. Number one, I'm not a big parade guy. I don't want to go there in the first place. There's a fire truck from 1950. Cool. Let's get the hell out of here. Yeah. That's 4th of July. You know what I mean?
Now, we differ in that, because I just get to a parade like, where's the bathroom?
It's just too much. It's too hot. I'm not a parade guy. But for me, at 6 and 4, I think there are some things that happen at some of these parades that are a little bit adult content, in my opinion. For my kids are just learning what their own thing is and how to protect it, and you don't touch others and others won't touch you. That's how I parent. It doesn't mean I'm against any community. It means that's what is good for my kids right now.
I think and I think that's where we lose the discernment and the nuance, right?
Yes.
Because what frustrates me the most is when people say, I'm not going to take I just read a post from someone I know, and it made my blood boil, because she was like, you can't take your children to Pride parades because they're there to groom and blah, blah, blah. That's where the narrative gets super dangerous, and a dog whistle, what you were saying when it comes to homophobia. Right. And it's almost like covertly draped with this, but it's adult. No. Let's just call it all what it is. I'm not going to take Sophie to a PG-13 movie. I've been to many Pride parades. I used to live literally on Dick Street in Santa Monica, which is like the haven, the epicenter of Pride in West Hollywood. And yeah, I just think, you know what, 5 years old, I'm not ready for her to go to a PG-13 movie or to see some PG-13 stuff. And I also don't want her to hear the hate speech from the protesters. I don't want her hearing all those homophobic slurs. So there's many reasons why I, as a parent, would probably just stay back until she's a little bit older. Erica, anything else you want to add? What about the Starbucks strike? What do you think about that?
Well, clearly something's happening because you don't get that many employees coming out and speaking out against a company that presumably they're going to return to work to. But I always find it fascinating how much people are so concerned about other people's children until they're children that need to be concerned about because no one's concerned about them. That's always something where it's like, it's interesting how we cherry pick when to be concerned about children, which children to be concerned about when, but only when it serves your narrative.
And you
so
say
well
this is a person that's been involved with kids that need advocates for years. So that's a great point.